All right, so thanks so much again for doing this. I appreciate it. First question is, tell me a little bit about Trillium. How did it get started?
Yeah, Laszlo, I'd love to talk about Trillium and then maybe we could introduce ourselves too so your listeners know who they're listening to. So I'll start by introducing myself. I'm Karen Williams. I'm the executive director at Trillium. And Trillium has been around since 1983, providing employment services for people with developmental disabilities primarily. And that means that we help businesses hire people with developmental disabilities. And we serve mostly Western Washington, but also Yakima. So we serve 5 counties throughout Washington, but there are lots of organizations like Trillium. So if listeners live in a community like Whatcom County or Walla Walla, there are organizations like Trillium that are there to serve businesses and people with disabilities as well. Our mission is to promote inclusive community and employment opportunities. And we believe that the community is stronger when people can belong and contribute. And in American culture, working is a big part of how people show their skills and belong and contribute in society. So we want to make that possible for everybody. So that's an intro of me and Trillium. And Alex, do you want to introduce yourself?
I am an advocate for employment support services for people with disabilities who receive a job coach through our agency. My two biggest duties are equipping job coaches with my experience and explaining to legislators why employment matters. When I help job coaches, I use both my negative experience of being coached by someone who did not understand my abilities, as well as my current job to show them what a person with just physical disabilities can do.
O- Okay. If I could ask, like, what sorts of services do you guys provide at Trillium?
Alex, do you want to take this? Because I know you had prepared some about the supports we provide to, and then the impact we hope that creates.
Trillium provides job coaching to people with cognitive disabilities so that they can do entry-level jobs in the community. When you think about the first job you had out of high school, it probably was task-oriented and difficult to perform, even without a disability. You had to do many small assignments that you felt uncomfortable doing. For people with a cognitive disability, one might think that, if they do not like a task, then it is okay to not do it. We coach people through positive and sometimes negative reinforcements to get them to that level where they can function on a job. Our goal is to fade, where the person with disabilities is comfortable with assigned duties. Here, the person with a disability feels comfortable doing a job task without the support we provide. We will still check in with the person with a disability and employer as necessary. However, we want the individual to be as responsive and responsible as possible.
I'll just add a couple things. Alex, to what you said, which is our support really goes to the business and the employee. So our goal is to strengthen the relationship between the employer who may not have had experience thinking about creative accommodations, or accommodations always seem like a big thing for them. And so our role is to be a partner to both the employee and the employer, and look at ways that we can help performance and inclusion on a team without being sort of the focal point. So our goal is to fade our supports, like Alex was saying. And Alex, I'm not totally sure what you meant by negative reinforcement, so I don't I don't want to comment. Maybe you have more on that, but just to be clear, we don't do anything that's negative. But so you might have like a different connotation on that. But yeah, the idea is to focus on people's skills, play to the strengths, and then help perform, with performance. So if that's a tool that we can help someone build that helps them be more successful identifying technology that would ease and create more efficiencies, we're doing that in the best interest of the employer and the employee. And so, yeah, we like to work in all different kinds of industries because we know that people want not just the entry level first job that Alex was talking about, but then career advancement. So maybe we help someone get their first job and they really wanted to work with animals, maybe they thought, and so they did that. And then they thought, you know what, I kind of want to move on. And I've always really loved computers and data entry. And so then we help them find another path in their career journey. So making sure that we're in different industries so that people can find jobs that meet their career goals along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because oftentimes it's a lot like vocational rehab where you go into this, you go into with a rehab counselor and then they say, you know, we have this and this jobs available. So that's kind of similar in that way. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah, Laszlo, we partner with the Division of Voc Rehab, and we work with schools, so students exiting high school. And so that partnership and what that looks like is very similar. I think Alex can tell you that you know, we're not all cut the same. And so sometimes we aren't serving people in the best way. And Alex will talk about a job coach experience that was kind of limiting him to just one type of job. And I don't know, Alex, if you want to share that story.
Frustrated me when my initial job coach did not consider my writing abilities, but I am here educating our support professionals on how to support individuals. Trillium provides individuals with a job coach who supports the individual as they become more independent in their job. In my role, I talk to job coaches about providing growth opportunities for them. My first job was shredding because my job coach had a limited vision of what I could do. I did my best to do this job, but I was unemployable because I wasn't partaking in the activity of shredding my coach wanted me to do. I train job coaches here at Trillium to not be this. This. What's the impact that your what's the impact?
Do you want to share some more, Alex? Go ahead.
mm,
Is it for now? Okay. Yeah, I think Laszlo, one of the things, so when you were saying, a vocational counselor might say, okay, we have this job and this job. At Trillium, what we try to say is not, because we don't have jobs just sitting here that we're trying to fill. What we want to do is meet the individual where they are and understand their skills and interests. And at the same time, we're meeting with businesses and understanding what their business needs are. And so, Alex gave the example of him saying, "Oh, I want to use some of my administrative skills." and he talked about that they thought, oh, well, administrative, maybe you could shred. And Alex is holding up his finger right now because he tells a story that basically he has use of one finger. And can you imagine shredding with one finger? It's like not a good like match. And yet he has all these ideas and he loves to write and share ideas. And so how then his first job coach was like limiting him to just shredding. And probably because he presents with physical disabilities and doesn't use spoken words to communicate, right? And so then he found another job coach that was like, oh yeah, let's get you technology, let's get you, in policy and advocacy, which is your passion. And so what we try to do is not fit people into a box. Oh, you have to be a work at Safeway, or you have to do this job. Those are all great jobs, but they're not for everybody. And so we try to create opportunities that people can explore things. And we might not even know that job exists, right? Sometimes we're helping someone get into an industry, and we might work with the business to identify tasks that kind of create a new position, but fit a business need and the person's skills. But I think along the way, what's really happening is we're shifting the expectations of people with disabilities. So I think sometimes, I've heard of colleagues and friends with disabilities say that the curse of low expectations, that presuming that people with disabilities can't work or whatever it is, that like sets a lower standard for them. And we want to shift that to say, no, of course you have something that a business would benefit from. So let's go make that match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know it's not on my set of questions, but like what model do you guys use to sort of say, hey, we can include people with disabilities in the workforce?
Yeah, I don't know that it's a model that has a name, but when we approach businesses, we know that one thing we don't want to do is get a charity hire. So we don't want it to be a token position. We don't want it to be because it feels sweet or something like that. No, we want it to be a value add to the business, because then they're really valuing the individual's skills. So when we're approaching a business, we're saying, hey, we think that we can help you build a stronger team, whether it's getting a certain task done, whether it's building the kind of team you want for customers, or for collaboration and efficiency. So we really do approach the businesses with that model. And then when it comes to the individual who may not have had a job before, or like Alice talked about with his job coaching experience, had a bad experience, right? That they got placed in a job that didn't feel good, or that kind of they felt stuck in, or something like that. So then we just try to start with mapping. What are you interested in? What do you like? Let's find out what of those industries exists in the community around you, and then we go and pursue those businesses. So very individualized, taking time for that discovery, and not assuming that just because you folded towels at your last job, that that's the only thing you can do in your next job. That's great. Maybe you liked it and maybe you do want another job, and you did it at a gym and now you want to do it at a salon, but maybe there's something else that you want to do, just like a lot of people, try different jobs in their careers.
Mm-hmm. My next question is, what's sort of the impact that your organization has on the greater community? What have people said about your work as an organization?
Go ahead, Alex.
It's important to recognize that people with disabilities are people first. They can determine who they want to go out with and what they want to do with their time. Employed individuals have more autonomy than unemployed people. We want people to have employment because they can spend their time earning a paycheck that they can then go into the world and participate in other activities. Furthermore, we should broaden our definition of employment to include job sharing and finding creative ways to enable people to participate in their society.
Yeah, just kind of like what Alex said, broaden the scope of employment because oftentimes, I would apply to job applications and they would always say, we're looking for individuals with disabilities that have a shared list of experiences, equal op employment opportunity. But oftentimes, they say, we appreciate your skills, your insights, your talents, but we're just gonna go in a different direction. That has happened to me a lot. Applying to many reporting journalism positions over the years. So yeah, it can often happen. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, I think, Laszlo, the impact on the community, Alex is sharing from an individual's perspective, the autonomy and agency and dignity it creates for the individual. And I don't identify as having disabilities, so I can say what it is in our workplace. Even Trillium having employees with disabilities and what I've seen in workplaces is really powerful because it is really about creating teams. And there's plenty of data out there that shows diversity helps performance in the business world because you have different perspectives to troubleshoot and problem solve. You have diverse and creative ideas that you wouldn't have if you only had, one type of thinking in a workplace. And so we know that businesses benefit when they have diverse perspectives. And we think that people with disabilities and developmental disabilities are one slice of that diversity pie that can help an organization and a company achieve their goals and have a stronger performing team.
hmm Well, my last question in all of this is what can people take away from this conversation? How can they make a difference in people's lives? And I would also ask, like, what can employment agencies, job coaches, how can they sort of learn to sort of be more support people with disabilities in their employment goals, because there's often like this bias and this stigma towards people with disabilities. So I'm wondering what you guys' take on that is.
Yeah, a lot in that question. So let's see if I can I'll do my piece and then Alex, I know you'll want to answer this too. So as far as what employment agencies, what we can be doing is, I think, again, creating the environment where people with disabilities lead. So whether that's they lead their own individual career planning, that they have the voice. So we're not saying, oh, well, hey, Laszlo, you did journalism at this last job, so that must be the only thing you do. You might want to think of something creative and different. And how do we listen to you and remember that we work for you? And that our goal is to make you as successful, not to tell you what you should do, right? So I think making sure that we're not in the driver's seat, but that we're in the support seat. And then your first question was another call to action just for anyone who might be listening, right? Well, someone might be in a position to hire in their organization or to say to their employer, hey, have we thought about hiring people with developmental disabilities? One thing that a lot of companies don't know is they get the services of the employment agency like Trillium for free because it's through our state funding. And so it's a benefit to an employer who's trying to be more inclusive in their workplace and build a more inclusive team. And they might need the support and they don't know that this is free. So an agency like Trillium can help with the recruiting, identifying the tasks, the training, and then troubleshooting things along the way, whether it's performance management or retraining or training to new tasks, things like that. So I think the call to action I would offer is, hey, wherever anyone who's listening, wherever they work, um, do they have authority to encourage their company to hire people with disabilities, or can they mention it and create more opportunities like that in all kinds of companies?
Hmm. Alex, you want to share?
I think that people with disabilities can share their talents if we give them a chance.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah. Yep. Well, cool.